All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another game playthrough by Fundamental Games. We're playing a game on Tabletop Simulator for a game that actually doesn't exist published yet, but we're going to have fun giving it a test here. And I've got Anthony here, the creator of the game from Bowstring Games. Hi, Anthony.
Hi Wes, hi everyone.
So today Anthony's going to kind of divulge some information about his game design, and then we're going to get into some playthrough of the game so you can actually see how it works on our digital tabletop. So Anthony, why don't you tell us a little bit of the backstory about what made you design Bellum Sacrum?
It was it came from a desire to create a card game that was based around the ancient Roman gods. And it was just a long process of sort of percolating different ideas at the back of my mind until I came up with, pretty much in one morning, the basic structure of Bellum Sacrum, and then just refining it over the space of a couple of years.
Excellent. And I see you got some interesting art with all these different gods and goddesses here. What can you tell me about the art style that you chose to go with?
Yeah, this is artwork done by Laura Jenkinson Brown. She is a publisher in her own right. She has a set of comics called Greek Myth Comics, and she illustrates books from the Iliad and the Odyssey and the Aeneid, as well as other myths. And I just really like her style. It kind of is stick figure, but dressed in quite authentic Roman and Greek garb. Those blank faces, I think, sort of leave a lot to the imagination and allow you to just kind of project onto the card what you'd like to.
Absolutely. I mean, that minimalistic style, just with those basic colors behind them, really makes the cards pop. And you're taking a different route than some of those other games. Like I see some of those Roman games that have art that must take somebody 17 hours to put together. But your minimalistic style here really just catches your attention and represents those characters quite well. So great job by the artist there.
I'll pass that on. Thanks, Wes.
All right. And how long have you been working on this game?
About 2 years, just short of 2 years. But I guess it was probably on my mind for about a year before that as well, to sort of come up with some sort of mechanic that would work with the gods.
Right. What does Bellum Sacrum stand for?
It means sacred war. Bellum is war. This is a Latin word.
Right.
Sort of like bellicose, and sacrum is sacred.
Right on. And you have a lot of like you teach this over in your school that you're at, or what's your background behind that again?
Yeah, I was a history teacher for many years. I'm a Latin teacher now. I've also got a website and social media project called Legonium, and that's all about teaching Latin and ancient culture using Lego. And so it all kind of fits into the one interest.
Yeah, I think I saw your website about that. I'll try to make sure I put a link to that in the YouTube video here, because you've kind of put together little scenarios with Lego to represent the stories of some of these characters, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you. That'd be great.
All right, and for this game, are you planning to self-publish, or do you hope to get this sold to a different company that will publish it on your behalf? Or
I'm hoping to. I'm going to have a Kickstarter launch in November, so that's coming up really soon. And
right.
I'm just going to cross my fingers, and we've been doing a bit of promotion work and hopefully getting the message out there. People who play the game seem to like it, so that's obviously a good start. But it's just getting word out there and hoping that it gets picked up by enough people to get out there with those who want to play it.
Excellent. All right, well, let's get into some gameplay scenario. We'll get I know the people that watch these videos like to see how these games turn out. So to start with, we each get to pick some characters. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we should probably do this fairly quickly. The basic setup of the cards is that there are 10 cards, 10 different card types,
Yep.
but each one is badged a little bit differently. There's a god version and a goddess version of each one. So as you can see, you're hovering over the gold now.
Right.
There's a Jupiter and a Juno card, or Jupiter and Juno, as they say in Latin. But both of them do exactly the same thing and have the exact same powers. So we should just quickly go through and pick one each, one of each color each.
Sounds good. And I see there's multiple cards in each stack. Is that right?
Yeah.
And so how many of each card do we get?
Take all of them. Just take all of one of the piles of each. So I've just taken one of the gold.
I would take this whole row.
You could do that, yeah.
And then this whole row. Does that work?
Yep. I'm not
All
quite as
right.
savvy, so I'm just going to do them one at a time.
Sounds good. I will grab my rows, stack them all together. So I've got all these different colors, and then I'm going to group them all to make one big deck. Is that right?
Yes?
I'll flip it over. I should have 42 cards,
Yes.
and I will shuffle those up. All right, my deck is ready.
You're a little bit ahead of me. Your viewers will have to be patient. This is my first time using Tabletop Simulator. I'm more of
No
a
worries.
play at home kind of guy.
So if you click and drag over that set of cards there, and then right or press G, it'll group them together. And if you press F, you'll flip them over, and right click and shuffle them up. All right, and so you've got a couple cheater cards here, which I absolutely love for any type of games. Just having those little cards, especially for people that play a lot of the games, it's nice to have these reminder cards when they get the game back to the table. So your quick start set guide says we set the trophies to one side, which are in the center of the table here. That's what we're vying for. We're trying to get some trophies to win. And how many trophies do we want to win?
We want it in 5.
5 trophies, all right. We created 2 decks. We shuffled our deck, so now I each get to draw 5 cards. So if you right click, you can just click the draw option 5 times, and you should get 5 cards that'll show up in your hand, and I can't see those. And if you hold Alt, Anthony, you'll be able to see them really big on the screen. So it kind of helps to be able to zoom in on them. And so once we have our 5 cards, we choose a starting player. I'm going to let you go first since you designed the game and know a lot more about the sequence of play than I do. And you'll get 3 actions on your turn, and then from then on, each of us gets 4 actions a turn. And those actions you have nicely depicted on the back side of this card. So tell us a bit about your turn and how you're going to start it off.
Okay. Usually when the player goes first, it tends to be that people draw most often. So in this game, when you take the draw action, you actually draw 3 cards, which is a nice little treat.
Yep.
So can I just drag to the front? How does that work? No,
If
maybe
you
not.
if you want to draw more cards, you mean, or
Yeah,
if you right click and click draw, you can draw more cards into your hand.
I think I just moved my whole deck. Can you move it back for me? I can't see it because it's behind my hand. Thanks very
Yep.
much. Okay. So draw, draw, draw. Okay, so I've now got 8 cards in my hand.
Yep.
Now I should just explain what I think sort of makes Bellum Sacrum a really fun game is that at any time you've got to think about the 3 possible things that you can do with every card in your hand. So every
Mm.
single card can be put down onto the board as a warrior, and
Yep.
then it can fight it out in those front, middle, and back spaces. But also, every card has an invocation power printed at the bottom,
Yep.
and you can invoke from your hand. Once something's on the table, you can no longer invoke it, and so it's a real challenge to decide what you play and what you hold on to, so that you can use its invocation powers. But the other
Right.
mechanic is that if someone else invokes a power and I have the matching card, I can block that invocation. So I'm also sort of wanting to keep cards into my hand, so that I can block invocations.
So every one of our cards has 3 different options to use, which, like you said, puts a lot of decision into every move you make, whether you put them on the table to battle or you save your best cards to try to counter your opponent's best cards, or use those special powers on the bottom of them, which could really impact the game. So me as a newbie, I'm not going to know exactly which ones are going to go well, but that kind of creates a lot of replayability in the game, because as you play games over time against opponents, you'll just kind of develop a strategy that you like.
So I've just put down, I've just deployed, which is one of the actions.
Yep.
I've deployed Porus, and you'll notice that I've put down 2 copies of Porus. I can put down
Right.
as many as I have in my hand, of a matching card. So that's my first warrior, and it's worth double its damage that it does, and double the defense that's required now to remove it from the table because of the fact that there's 2 of them.
Right, you
And
just keep adding their numbers together.
that's exactly right. And then in the second position of my third action, I'm going to deploy the Mighty Jupiter into the middle space.
Excellent. And so normally there's an attack option, but you can't attack on the first turn, is that right?
Yeah, because there's nothing there to attack. And you
Right.
also can't take a trophy, obviously, in the first turn. But from now on, if at any point one of our columns is empty, the other person will take a trophy.
And trophies again are the way to win. We need 5 trophies to win. So if I take my turn and don't put down some kind of defense, then Anthony's going to score a trophy, and definitely don't want that on the first or second turn of the game. All right, so then turn goes to me. So I have the options to draw, deploy, attack, strengthen, or invoke. Now, obviously, I can't attack or strengthen because I don't have anything on the table yet. So I'm going to follow Anthony's lead, and I'm going to do my first action to draw 3 cards. And there's no hand limit, and you don't have to discard at the end of the turn. But there are some cards that could punish me for holding on to cards. Like if Anthony wanted to be cruel, he could cause me to do some discarding, I believe. All right, so we've got a handful of cards here, but I've got a porous that... Now, are you able to attack with your middle character, or can you only attack with the person on the front?
So you only attack with the person on the front until that person has attacked. Then they are turned on their side. They're then resting. And once they're resting, then the warrior behind can attack. And once they're resting, the warrior behind them can attack.
All right, and I'm going to give you a little hint here on the top of your screen, Anthony. Does your degree marker say 15 or 90?
It says 90.
Okay, so you've learned the trick where if you press E, it's a quick rotate, and if you press Q, it's a quick unrotate.
Okay. That's what that is.
That saves you from having to manually turn your cards from side to side. But what you're saying is if you were to attack me with porous, and you'd kind of exhaust him or rotate him to say that he can't be used again.
Yes, and then he would unrotate at the end of my turn. He'd come back. So I call it ready and resting.
And so once he's resting, that gives an opening for Jupiter to do an attack if he wanted to.
That's correct.
But Jupiter can't attack as long as porous is ready.
And the only card I can attack is the card at the front of your column.
Yeah.
But as soon as your front is eliminated, removed, then everyone else moves forward.
Excellent. All right, well, I'm going to try playing... I'm going to deploy 2 Bellonas on the front of the table here. So that makes her total attack and defense 10 and 10. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
All right, so that was my second action, and then I still have a third action. Now, I can see here that porous, if nothing else was played, wouldn't have a hope of beating Bellona, but I'm sure you have tricks up your sleeve that could stop that. For a third action, now I'm going to attempt, let's try one of your invoke powers. I want to show the viewers how that works. I could, let's see, return. I like that one. Okay. So if I were to discard Diana as an invoke, I can discard any number of cards from an opponent's column with a total defense of 8 or less. So if I wanted to say I could get rid of 1 porous and 1 Jupiter unless you can counter that card by invoking your own card or sacrificing your own card from your hand that matches Diana.
Yeah, which fortunately I can because I don't want to lose my Jupiter so early in the game. So I would discard my Apollo, which as you can see is the matching card to Diana.
So that's a great example there. So Anthony has defended against my invoke power by discarding the matching card. Now if I had discarded 2 Diana cards, does that mean you would have had to do 2 Apollos?
That's exactly right. So you can increase the possibility of your invocation going through by using multiple copies of the card. I have to block it with the same amount of cards. It doesn't change what the invocation does at all. Doesn't make it any more powerful. It does make it harder to block.
But I would have had to do that before knowing if you had Apollo, so I can't do it in response.
You could do it now as another invocation, but that would cost you another action if you did it now.
Right, and I'm already on my third action. So we both discard our invoked cards, or your defense card there, and that would use up... Oh, I still have one more action, that's right. So I could, as my fourth action, play Diana again.
I cannot block that.
Now, that used one more action than if I would have just played them both at the same time, but then I might not have drawn Apollo out of your hand, so it's kind of a decision point there, too.
You've got to think, how much do I want this to go through? But you're right, it would have only cost you the one action if you'd done it with 2 cards at the beginning.
Right. So now that the second Diana went through, that sends Jupiter and one of your Porus right to the discard pile. Or do you call it a discard pile?
I do, yeah.
Okay. I know many of the games have different terms for the discard pile, whether it's graveyard or cemetery or the abyss. All right, so that would be the end of my turn.
Okay, well, I'm in an interesting position then. You've got 2 Marses on the table, but I think I can probably get through those.
Oh
In
no.
fact, I'm sure I can. I just don't want to leave myself too weakened, because if I take a trophy from you, you're going to get 5 actions in your next turn.
So that would be listed in the rule book. So anytime you take a trophy, the opponent gets a benefit on the following turn.
Yes, and it's actually written on the trophy as well, just so you don't forget.
That's a good call. So when you win a trophy, your opponent gets 1 additional action.
Now,
Very
if
nice.
I then start to get more trophies than you, that stops to take effect. And so if you get ahead, it's got this nice little balancing feature where if you're ahead in the game, it actually makes it a little bit harder for you.
Yeah, it's what they like to call catch-up mechanics in board games. And if you've ever played Mario Party, that blue shell comes from out of nowhere.
All right, I'm going to draw 3 cards as my first move. 1, 2, 3. Done. So that's 1 action. For my second action, I am going to... Actually, this is a good opportunity to show you how supporting works.
Right.
So I'm going to deploy Neptune as my second action.
Yep.
I'm going to deploy Honos as my third action. And now I'm
Right.
going to attack. Now, attack is 1 action. I can attack
Right.
with just 1 card, but if I wish to, I can attack with the support of the card behind it. And if it's the front card, I can actually attack with the support of both cards behind it.
And
As
so
long
by
as I can,
support, what does that provide?
what I do is I add the attack scores of all of those cards together, and they do that increased damage. Now, the trade-off, you might think, well, that's very powerful, but the trade-off is they all then rest, and so none of them can attack again this turn.
Right. So you might be able to take out my guy, but it might have left an opening that you couldn't get a trophy, or that. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So I've successfully removed both of those, or that warrior, that combined warrior, that strengthened warrior is now in your discard pile. And
All right.
I won't bother putting all these guys on the side because they're just going to come straight back again. But they're all resting, and then because it's the end of my turn, they all come back.
All right. So you would have done a combined total of 2, 8, 13 damage. You used all 3 of them,
Yep.
and so that would destroy both of my Bellonas, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to take a trophy.
Now, if you had just done 5 damage, would I have lost 1 Bellona, or would you have done no damage at all to my Bellona?
No, that's a good question. If I'd done 5 to 9 damage, I would have weakened Bellona and removed 1 card.
Okay. So in a way, they're kind of like building up hit points or defense, but they can be. You don't. It's not a be-all, end-all to take her down at 10. You can kind of whittle down at her if you need to.
Yeah. But you
Great.
don't have to sort of keep track because you can't do partial damage to a card. So you don't have to think, oh, this card's only got 3 left on it or anything like that.
And so you didn't need an extra guy to attack when I had nobody. As long as I don't have somebody in my column at the end of your turn, you gain a trophy. Or
Yes.
as soon as I don't have cards there. Perfect.
As soon as it's empty, yeah. And you can only take 1 trophy a turn.
Yeah. So has your turn come to an end?
It has, yeah.
And I see you have 5 cards. Obviously, I can't see what they are, but knowing that you have 5 cards does impact my gameplay a bit. And since you got a trophy, I get 5 actions this turn. Is that why you have these little dots here in case I forget what action I'm on?
Yeah, once it gets up to 5, it can get a little bit tricky to keep track.
Yeah, so I'm gonna track it with those, like you. And let's see what I can do here. Foil pair. So I could start with a Virtus. I'm going to invoke her to deploy a pair of matching cards from my discard pile, unless you can stop it.
I cannot block that.
So I can take a pair, which is my 2 Bellonas, and say, you know what? She's not done yet.
Yeah, well played, sir.
So that will be my first action, and then that goes to my discard pile.
Yeah.
What do we got here? All right, I'm going to use my second action to draw 3 cards. So that'll use up that. All right. With my third action to drop. Is it Ayuno?
Uno.
Uno. I've never seen
like
that name.
the game.
So.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. And so that was my third action. So I have 2 actions left. Let's see. What can we do here? I've got 10. You've got a small Porus, but my damage wouldn't carry over. So I couldn't kill Porus and carry it through to Neptunus, right?
You can't do that. That is actually the invocation power of the Mars Bellona, is that it enables you to push your damage right down the column.
Yeah. So that's only if I discarded her as an invoke.
Yes.
While attacking with somebody else. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. Yeah, you got a lot of defense going on there. I don't know if I can stop you. So I could say that she is going to destroy Porus.
Okay, so I'll take Porus into my discard, and then what that does is these immediately move forward.
Yeah.
Which, when you're playing on the table, is really good fun. You're kind of pushing all in.
Yeah. And so now I see you have a God of Honor and a God of the Oceans, but I still have 1 action left because you gave me that bonus action from taking the trophy. So I could use Juno to strike at Neptunus.
Okay. So Neptunus is gone.
And that's all 5 of my actions, so then I would ready my troops again.
Okay. So you have to get used to losing things very quickly in this game. They kind of come and go.
Yeah, don't get attached. The
right.
blessing of the gods is very fickle.
Well, I've got a very powerful invocation card in my hand. I'm going to try and play it, see whether you can block it or not.
All right.
This is the Pluto card.
Aha.
Your equivalent is Proserpina. And what this does is enables me to move and take an entire warrior and just put it straight into the discard pile.
So if they had 4 cards, you would get rid of all 4 cards under that character. But Proserpina says no.
Okay. Fair enough. All right, well, that's my first action. I think I've probably got myself in a little bit of a bind here, but that's okay. My second action is going to be to deploy Porus.
Back again.
My third action to deploy Mercurius. They're all pretty weak cards, but I think if I attack, I can probably do 10 damage and send Bellona back.
If you could group them all together again, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my last action.
And I can't do anything to stop that, so both of these ladies must disappear again. It's unfortunate. And then
now you can see, not to give away too much to my opponent, but you can see that I now am in a position of only having 1 card in my hand. Which
I noticed that.
Yeah, good. Okay. For the viewers at home, that makes me very susceptible to invocations.
Yeah, if anybody's ever played Magic the Gathering, I know it's the most popular card game in the world, but hand size and card advantage is basically the game when it comes down to it. So, all right, so that's the end of your turn.
That is, yeah.
All right, so I'm back to a 4 action turn. I've got a Juno, which is an 8/5, and the 5 only matters when you're attacking me, so the 8 is what matters to me. Okay, and what do I have in my hand? Well, I think it's always a good idea to draw cards. Maybe I'm just overthinking that, but I'm going to draw 3 cards just to give myself as many options as possible. All right. And what do we have? Oh, so if you were to get your Fortuna card, that would be dangerous. Ready a warrior from your column. Ah, I see. Okay, so I have 3 actions remaining. So my first action might be to take out Honos. Now, if I attack Honus, does he counterattack and do damage to me or no?
No.
Okay, so I only take damage when you're attacking me.
Yeah.
So then for my second action, I could...
Yeah, sorry, this is your third action because you drew and you attacked.
Oh, right. Yep, third action. So my third action would be to invoke Minerva to try to do an unsupported attack with a resting warrior.
Well done. Okay, so they're gone.
All right. So Iuno really knows how to do battle here, but now I'm down up to my final action. What can I do? I think I could deploy something. Do I have anything worth deploying? I think Venus wants to put you in a dangerous spot, and I will pass the turn. So Venus, you can see, is a 0-8, so she's really good at defending me anyway, even if she can't hurt you.
Yeah, now I'll just say, Wes, because I get the question a lot, how do you attack with Venus if she's got a attack value of 0? What you need to do is attack with her, but support with something else.
Yeah, so having a support card behind her or some kind of a card in your hand that gives an advantage.
Okay, well, I had better draw. It is my turn, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, okay, so I'm going to draw. So that gives me 3 cards. Okay.
One thing I like about your game is that we both have the exact same deck, so there's no distinct advantage that I made a different combo than you, but it's how we're using each of our cards to our own playstyle, so I like that.
Now, how many cards do you have?
I currently have 5 in my hand, and if you ever want to know, if you look at my side of the table, you should see black rectangles.
I do too, yeah, thank you, that makes things easy. Okay, now let me just... is there a quick way for me to look at my discard pile, or do I just have to sort of shift through them?
Yep, you can right-click and then click search, and then you'll see them all on the right-hand side, and then you can, again, hold Alt if you want to make them a little bit bigger.
Can I just say I'm really impressed with Tabletop Simulator?
I've found it an absolutely amazing way to playtest my own games. I'm actually designing a game right now, and before I even made anything physical, I've been making the game digitally just to experiment with different functions and tools. It's just amazing how much you can do with it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to try invoking Honos.
So you're going to try to deploy a pair of cards from your discard pile, and that is going through.
Okay, so let's see whether I can pull them straight out from there. Is that a feature?
Yep, absolutely.
Gosh, that is great. I love it. All right. How do I turn that search off now? Just click it again?
Just on the top right of the search box, there should be a little X.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Thanks. Okay, so I've now got... how do I separate those out? They seem to be joined together.
So just, click off onto the table and then just click and drag one real quick like you're drawing it. Actually, I only see one there.
Let me see if there's another one still in there. I think there must be. Sorry, everyone. I'm still learning.
Did you have 2 Jupiters?
It said 2.
I thought I'd only seen 1.
No, that's my mistake. I was messing up.
That was the sequence in the stack. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Okay. Well, would you mind if I take that back? Because I wouldn't have done that.
No, that's absolutely fine.
In that case, thanks very much.
So okay. You've got Honos back in your hand, right?
Sorry, wrong one.
Sneaky.
Okay. Very
Jupiter, you got to stay in that discard pile.
That's the only way I win.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did have another Jupiter, so I will deploy that. So this is my... I've lost track now.
That'll be your second. Yep.
Your Jupiter is back. So the only way I'm going to get to that Jupiter is by attacking with Porus and supporting with my Jupiter. Sorry. So take out your Uno.
So 12 damage against my Uno. So yeah, that is.
Now, how did you say that I flip them?
To rotate them, press E.
Right. And then I'm just going to bring out Porus, and it's not a powerful card, but it does help to have 3 deep, just to defend against sort of losing trophies.
Yeah, because anytime I'm trying to attack you, I find I can't get through to the third person. I can get through 2, but I can't get through 3, so that's a good defense strategy. Just have something there, even if it's cannon fodder.
Yeah. Okay, and how do I get them ready again?
Q, the letter Q, or you can press E 3 more times. Yep.
Okay.
All right, so that brings it to my turn. All I've got is a Lonely Venus who has no damaging power, but like you said, if I can find a way to support her, she could do some damage. You've got Mercurius there. And I like the fact that I don't have to worry about what the cards say on them once they're on the table. All I have to worry about is the numbers. So when you're playing other games with cards, you often have to read everything in their text box to know if what you're doing is the right thing or not. So my first action, I'm going to deploy Discordia, but I can deploy 2 of them, correct?
Correct, yeah.
As a single action. So there's action 1. So now she's got a total combined attack power of 8 if I did decide to attack. You've got... Interesting, okay. So then I'm going to invoke Bellum. So what's going to happen is any damage I do this turn continues down your column. Right?
Yeah, well done. I can't block that.
So that's action number 2. So knowing that you can't block that, action number 3, I'm going to drop Fortuna, and action number 4, I'm going to strike out with Venus using the other 3 characters as support. Is that going to take you down?
You tell me. What have I got? I've got how do I remind me how to zoom in on a card again?
So hold Alt, and if you scroll in, it'll make the card as big as you want. So Mercurius, you've got 2 defense, Jupiter has 5, and Porus has 3, so that's a total defense of 10, and I'm striking out at you with 4, 8, 12 damage.
Okay, so they are all gone.
And normally they wouldn't be all gone, but thanks to the power of the goddess of war, she has blessed Venus, and they just smote your army. So I will score a trophy. Yay! That's the end of my turn. Now you don't get an extra action because we have a matching value of trophies, is that right?
No, I get a matching additional action unless I have more trophies.
Okay, so yeah, we're at 1 and 1, and you get 5 actions this turn.
Okay.
And you'll notice that I'm now down to 1 card in hand, so that puts me in a dangerous spot. Although you only have 2 cards, so it's not too bad.
Yes, I had better draw on that note. That's my first action. My second action, now that I do have 2 Jupiters for real in that discard pile, I'm going to try invoking Honos again.
And I have not drawn a way to counter that, so the double Jupiter is now in play. That is dangerous.
So now I can pull both of them out from... one of them landed on the table. And one of them fell off the edge of the table.
Oh, it's back. They automatically reappear.
Thank you very much. I'll talk to you later. All right.
And so for Honus, he puts it directly into play, so it's not going to take you an extra action. That's
you're right. They should really, that's exactly right. They go straight into the play.
Be a big difference if you had to spend another action, so that's cool.
So that's
wow, that guy's huge. He's a 16 now.
Yeah, so I think with my second action, I'm going to take out your Venus.
Yep.
Hefty defense. With my third action, I'm going to try your ploy and invoke Neptunus, which enables a resting warrior to attack again.
Yeah, just whammo. See how it goes back and forth real quick. She's gone.
So that's my third. My fourth, I'm going to bring myself out some hefty defense.
Venus, Amour, God of Love.
And then you should immediately bring that forward.
Yep. So now I've got Fortuna at the front of the line, but she's not too dangerous.
And leaving myself in a bit of a position here. I think I'm just going to have to draw again. Okay, and that's me.
So that'll bring it to my turn. All right, with my 1 card in hand, I will use my first action to draw 3 cards. I was hoping that you didn't pick up cards because I had a Copia in hand, which no longer is helpful. So if Anthony had not drawn cards and he only had 2, Copia would have allowed me to draw 5 cards.
No, hang on, that's the other way around. If I've got more cards than you, then you can use Copia.
Oh, so if I would have played this instead of my draw action...
You could draw 5 cards instead of the standard 3.
So I'm going to draw 2 more then, unless you can counter her. Do you have a card to counter Copia?
See how it's got a grey shade to it? There are 2 cards that are grey instead of coloured, and they cannot be blocked.
Oh, cannot be blocked. That's right.
And it
So
also says unblockable on the body of the text, and that's because it would be unfair if I'd be in a position to block it if I had more cards than you. So
right. All right. So Jupiter has a 10 defense, hey? So that was my first action. My second action, I could deploy 2 Fortunas. Is that right?
so what you're doing there is the what's known as strengthening.
Yes.
So yeah, perfect.
So strengthen any number of cards. So that brings Fortuna up to a 12 as my
Nice.
second action. My third action will be to take down your Jupiters.
Wow, that is good fortune for you and for me.
And that leaves me with one final action. Hey. You have... okay. As my final action, do I want to leave myself open? Not really. Dangerous play. I will drop a Venus as my final action as well.
All right. There's one way I can do this and get myself another trophy. So I'm going to give it a shot.
Say it ain't so.
Well, actually, there's many ways, but I'm going to go with the sure thing. So I'm going to deploy and attack. Now I think I'm right. Even though your Fortuna does 12 damage at the moment, it only has 6 defense. Is that right?
It is pretty weak, yeah. So as long as Pluto can strike out using as supporting Venus, so that takes all of those away.
And then on my third action, I'm going to deploy Mars. And then with my final action, I'm going to attack with Mars.
Not only deploy Mars, that's a double Mars. That's terrible. All right. Success.
And that gets me a second trophy, and it gets you 5 actions.
All right.
Bring all these guys back.
Well played.
Thank you.
Now you have 2 cards left, but you've got a full board, and that is dangerous. So what am I going to do here? Well, I will start my turn with my first action, and I will discard Copia, which is unblockable. I get 5 cards because I have 1 card in hand now, and you have 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. As my second action, I will try getting rid of Proserpina to discard a warrior of my choosing.
I cannot block that. So
now, if I get rid of Mars, does that get rid of both Mars?
It sure does.
Then I will do that. So that's second action. Third action, I can drop a double Minerva. Fourth action, that Minerva will attack, taking out Venus, or Amor. And so that leaves me with only one more action. All this work, and I cannot get ahead yet. We'll drop Uno again, and now it's your turn.
Okay. I'll draw. Let's try this. As my second action, I'm going to invoke Pluto.
Aha, I must discard a warrior of my choice. So am I going to lose my double Minerva or my single?
Of my choice, actually.
Oh, your choice. And I cannot stop it. So who's going away?
I'm going to get rid of Neptunus.
All right. Or Minerva, you mean?
Oh, sorry, Minerva.
Gonzo. Uno moves up. Desperately trying to defend.
That's second action. So, third action.
I'm curious.
Pull those out. And I'm living on the edge here, but fourth action, I'm going to attack and take another trophy.
Yes, sir. And you have 2 cards in hand again. All right. So that'll make it my turn.
Your turn now. I'll correct you on what you did before, and it's not going to make a difference at all. But
Yep.
you have to have less cards when you invoke those grey cards, not after you invoke them.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought maybe the card was on the table at the time of that. Okay.
Well,
Good to
I mean,
know.
that's still a rule that I guess is going both ways. So
No worries. What are these? 2 3s. Oy. I will. First action of my 5 will be to draw 3 cards. I need to find something good here. I think second action will be to draw 3 more cards. So if we run out of cards from our draw pile, do we shuffle up and rebuild it?
yes.
All right. Third action. So you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I see. Third action will be discarding them. So many choices. Decisions. Pluto is a 6/5. Mercurius is a 4. So I need a 6 attack and a 4 attack. Now I have 3 actions left. Okay, so I'm going to try this. I'm going to drop Minerva for 1 action. I will play Diana and see if you counter that.
I cannot block that.
So we'll use that to get rid of your Mercurius.
Okay, so that allows you to take individual cards, any ones you want, up to a total of 8.
Yeah, so I can get rid of the 2 Mercurius then.
Yeah.
And so that would have been my 4th action, and then my final action would be to attack, hoping to earn a trophy.
And so that's gone. Congratulations.
So I've earned my 2nd trophy.
Okay. Now this is where that balancing act comes in, because I don't get an extra action now because I've got 3 trophies and you've only got 2.
Right.
So it's a bit like breaking someone's serve in tennis.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll start by drawing. So 1, 2, 3, and I think I've just got to be in it to win it here, and I will attack.
That'll do it. Trophy for trophy. So you're up to 4 trophies. I really have to be careful here. But I do get 5 actions again, and it's my turn.
It is.
All right. Got a big Gamor at the front, followed by a Neptunus. All right. So I'll start by drawing 3 cards. Goddess of Courage. How do we get 8? Okay, so second action will be to deploy a double Fortuna. Third action will be to strike out at Amor.
Sorry, Amor.
Fourth action, I think I can do this here, will be to play a double Copia, and fifth action will be to attack, earning me a trophy and ending my turn. But now I've got at least some defense on the table to stop you from getting that 5th trophy that you want so badly.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to work too. So that's it's a 6 and a 4, isn't it?
Yep, 4 at the front and 6 behind.
If I had another action, I would be able to do this. All right, I'm going to draw.
Yep.
I might be able to do this. 2,
Uh-oh. 2, we've got Bacchus.
which does 4 damage. So if I attack with that, I can take out your Fortuna.
That's your third action, yep. Or, so you drew, you played, you attacked, so yeah, you have 1 action remaining. If you can take out Mycopia with a card in your hand, maybe you have something to invoke.
Yeah, I do. And I've got what I've just been lucky enough to pick up is 2 copies of Apollo. So I'm going to invoke with both of those.
And you were very lucky to draw 2 because I happen to have 1 Diana in my hand, but not a second copy. So what Apollo has done is they're destroying this last card, which gives me an empty board, which allows you to earn your 5th trophy. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. I often win the first time I play against someone. I rarely win the second and third.
Hey, it takes a lot of thought to figure out what's going on and whether I'm being too aggressive or not. So it was interesting to see the back and forth there.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Thank you.
Which of these gods or goddesses do you think represents you the most?
Oh God, what an interesting question. I've got a deck here in front of me. I'm just flicking through. I better not say Bacchus.
It's Bacchus now, damn it.
Apollo, maybe? I like the idea of being Apollo when he's at his best. All of these characters have a dark side. Amor. I kind of like the fact that you've got these 2 cards in there that are just there to defend and don't do any damage. It's kind of nice. And they've both got their wings spread out wide. It's sort of like a barrier.
Yeah, it's very cool that you decided to put half of the game as male and half as female gods and goddesses. It's a nice balance. Many games, including some of the ones I've made, I often don't even think about gender, and it just automatically goes to male for some reason. So I like the fact that it's well balanced that way.
I've been writing a little sort of developer's journal on the website, and one of the first things I wrote about was a game that we used to play as kids. It was one of those Top Trump type games,
right?
And it was all Marvel superheroes. And I recently got a deck again. I found a deck in a second-hand sort of comic book shop, which was fabulous because we used to play this game to death when I was a kid. And what I realised when I went back over it is all the men in the game are really strong and all the women are really weak.
Right.
And I thought that must have messed with our heads as we were little children. So this is my response to that.
Yeah, and the way the characters are depicted, it doesn't overemphasize anything about them. Like there's no gratuitous nudity that you might see in games that are about Roman goddesses or gods. It's just those stick figures really lets you focus on what represents them, and then the skills that you attributed to them is really neat. So
yeah, I had a lot of fun thinking, what skills make the game fun, but also which skills kind of fit the character of the gods.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, Anthony. Well, I've had a lot of fun playing this game with you, and hopefully it gives players or people that are interested in your game, whether it's your Kickstarter or your game afterward or anything like that, just gives them something to see and a visualization of how a game plays out. And just the deep layers of strategy you have built into this game with the 3 mechanics that every card serves and the layers on the board. It's just, there's so much to it. I love what you've done to design this game, and it really looks like you put a lot of time and energy into how the games play and that there's a certain level of balance there. So kudos to you on that, and I hope the people that watch this video get a chance to understand that and can back your game or support you in some other way.
Yeah, thanks very much, Wes, and thank you for the work you put into setting up the game, and also for introducing me to Tabletop Simulator. It's fabulous. Yeah, thanks very much.